If you're fallen behind on news about the DC Cinematic Universe, I wouldn't blame you. There hasn't really been all that many updates. So apparently in the year 2022, we will be getting a film titled The Flash, based on The Flash. I'm surprised they're not calling it Scarlet Speedster, considering the other DC films be following this pattern. We got Man of Steel, The Dark Knight, Shazam. Well, okay, that's a weird legal one right there. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the recent rumours that the Flash movie will be based on the comic book series Flashpoint. Now, to point out that back when Justice League movie first came out, it was rumoured that Flashpoint was going to be the first story for the Flash's standalone movie. And there are even hints to Flashpoint in the Aquaman after credits scene. But you see, when I first heard of these rumours, I was a bit concerned. A Flashpoint movie being the first standalone film for the Flash seemed a bit weird. Now, don't get me wrong, the Flashpoint comic is really good. You see, the Flashpoint story centers around Barry Allen, the Flash, going back in time to save his mum after many years of refusing to use his powers for his own personal gain. Upon doing so, he sends ripples throughout the timeline forwards and backwards. But though the changes aren't too major, it's just Atlantis and Themyscira are at a war that threatens to destroy the entire planet. Cyborg is the president of the United States. Superman wasn't found by the Kents, but was in fact found by the US military, who kept him in a secret facility underground with no sunlight. Oh, and in Crime Alley, next to a theatre showing Zorro, a young Bruce Wayne is shot and Thomas and Martha Wayne survive. Oh, but with very drastic outcomes. Seeing her own son shot in front of her in a city riddled with crime, Martha Wayne snaps and becomes the Joker. Oh, and Thomas Wayne, being so angry at his injustice, becomes the Batman. This is a Batman who will do anything, even using guns, and his real-world persona of Thomas Wayne actually owns and runs some of the big casinos in Gotham City. If you thought Gotham City was already a neon dystopia, just you wait to see this version. It might as well be made out of fog. But of course, we have Barry Allen as Barry Allen. Retaining his memories from the previous timeline, he wakes up in this world where he is no longer the Flash. His mum is alive and his dad isn't accused of murder rotting in Iron Heights. He is happy. It is a great world for him. The only issue is, it's not a very good world. It's strange how many universes in DC fall apart because the Flash isn't there. The story follows that Barry Allen needs to team up with the Batman, Thomas Wayne, in order to regain his powers. So he can then use his powers to go back and stop himself from saving his mum's life. The comic itself is a cross-universe event series and it is honestly amazing. I would highly recommend you read it. Up until now, I try to keep the details as light as possible. From this point onwards, I will be going into more in depth about the comic, so you may or may not want to watch it. I hope you do. If you choose not to, please, still like the video, subscribe, share it with people who might not be worried about spoilers. See, what's the biggest thing about the Flashpoint comic? It's a pinnacle of the Flash's regrets, his anger, his sadness. He reaches a point where he cannot stop himself. He knows that every bad thing in his life stems from his mother's death. But you see, the version of the Flash we've seen in the Justice League is new. He doesn't even have the name The Flash. They actually poke fun of this in the Arrowverse, where the Flash meets the Flash, and it's a whole thing. You should watch it. But as I was saying, this version of the Flash is new. He's way too new. He hasn't gone through any of the dramatic stuff the Flash would have gone through by the time Flashpoint happens. How are you supposed to do a film about tipping over the peak of emotion when they haven't developed those emotions yet? Alongside this, the Flash clearly isn't trained in any capacity. He describes the technique as pushing and running away.
I've just pushed some people and run away.
He froze up when he didn't know how to help the Justice League fight against Beowulf.
See, I'm afraid of bugs and, guns and obnoxiously tall people and murder, and I can't be here. It's really cool, you guys seem ready to do battle and stuff, but full transparency, I've never done battle.
Okay, yes, granted, he has an incredibly high IQ, all thanks to this little Easter egg. Honestly, I hated that Easter egg. It was so lame. But then got me thinking, how could this movie actually work, and how could it benefit the DC Universe as a whole? And could it also sow the seeds for future films and crossovers? First of all, let's start off with the titular villain, Reverse Flash. Oh my god, this is one of the coolest villains across the DC Universe. He is amazing. If you don't know who the Reverse Flash is, no, it is not the Flash, but running backwards. He is just another speedster from about 500 years into the future. He's inspired by the Flash. He wants to be as fast as him, but can't. And this makes him angry, this makes him jealous, this makes him hateful. So he goes back in time to essentially ruin the Flash's life. Fighting over Central City, fighting over the Speed Force, fighting over reality. But a war, Reverse Flash can simply never win, because he is dependent on the Flash's entire existence, so he can exist in the future to go back in time and meet the Flash. And this is where Flashpoint comes in. What if the version of Reverse Flash we meet in Flashpoint is a version of him from right at the end? From right at the end of a completely different story, a version where the Reverse Flash and the Flash have already been fighting and clashing and dealing with each other for years upon years upon years. So maybe the first time the Flash meets the Reverse Flash in Flashpoint, I need to stop saying Flash, the word has no meaning anymore. The Reverse Flash is coming off a lifetime of battle against the Flash, but the Flash is all new to this. He's never met this villain before. Think about it like when the Doctor first met River Song in Doctor Who. This could also ride off the success of the Arrow versus the Flash. Because we know the story of the Flash, we know the villains, we know who these people are. So we don't really need to be told that story again, especially side by side with the actual story. But a version of the story with completely skewed timelines could be really intriguing. A gun-toting villainous vigilante played by none other than Jeffrey Dean Morgan, or as you may know him better as Negan. Okay, to be fair, the casting is speculation and rumour, but it's based on good evidence. There's supposedly talks of him returning to the role of Thomas Wayne, and yes, I mean returning. I didn't realise it either, but he played Thomas Wayne in the Batman Superman opening where, where it all slows down and you see Bruce Wayne's parents die again. Which actually brings me on to my next point. How many retellings of the Batman story have we had where we keep on seeing that same thing? Oh no, we gotta see Ben Parker die again. Yeah, well, we've seen the Waynes die like 5 times. Come on. Because this is a great opportunity to tell the story differently, give us something new and dramatic. Yes, Batman is a great character, and yes, his origin is incredibly iconic and powerful. But we've seen it, we've had it. I want something different. Oh, and so Flashpoint Batman is actually incredibly important to the DC universe from that point onwards. I won't give you too many details, but you should definitely check it out. Okay, it's nothing to do with the Flash movie, but it does kind of open the potential for the Batman Who Laughs, who is one of the best villains in the DC universe ever. And the next part, which is incredibly important, is the ability to retcon. You see, when you mess with time travel, it gives you the option and the ability to change things about. And Flashpoint is one of the most dramatic time shifts in all of comic book history. I mean, how many time travel stories have literally reset the entire universe, creating brand new issue 1s, known specifically as New 52. That was an interesting time. Okay, for clarification, in the end of Flashpoint where the Flash inevitably succeeds, you could probably guess that, so no spoilers there, he changes the entire timeline. And I mean he changes it on a multiversal scale. This gave the creators at DC the ability to completely redesign and reconsider all their characters. Yeah, that didn't go too well, but the point stands that they were able to retcon the entire universe, and this will be an amazing opportunity for the DC cinematic universe. They could retcon many of the mistakes they made in the films so far, and who knows, maybe even the Zack Snyder version of Justice League will be a part of this. Like both versions of Justice League are valid, just one is pre-Flashpoint, one is post-Flashpoint. The next pro could be DC's version of Stan Lee and Thanos combined. The woman in the red cloak, a woman who appeared in the background of all 52 issue 1s. This particular character is Pandora, and yes, I mean that Pandora, the one who released the 7 deadly sins from Pandora's box. And there I said it, 7 deadly sins, she already has a connection to the cinematic universe. Alongside that, the Wizard Shazam himself is the one that actually locked her away for opening Pandora's box. Eventually she was released thanks to Flashpoint, messing up literally everything. So imagine that, you make the Flash movie and then from that point on you gotta look out for the woman in the red cloak in the background of all future DC films. So eventually her story comes up. A story that actually involves, yet again, some of my favourite DC villains, the Crime Syndicate, especially the Evil Justice League. See, those are the good qualities of the films, the stuff that it could potentially do to be, amazing. But there are still some concerns I have. Of course, one of my concerns are the Flash could be overshadowed by all these other heroes in these much darker roles. And with the involvement of Thomas Wayne, it could become a Batman story over a Flash story. Where the comics had tie-in issues to build up some of the characters, the film simply hasn't got that option. The film tries to explore Flashpoint, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, Cyborg, and you sort of got a bit of a difficult time going there. The DC movies also unfortunately have a trend of playing their cards too quickly. The death of Superman in Batman vs Superman for him to only return in the next movie, which I think probably took place like 4 months later, that meant they couldn't carry any of the emotional weight of, Superman dying. It might be the same issue with Flashpoint, where how are you supposed to carry the emotional weight of him saving his mum and then having to sacrifice his mum again in order to fix the timeline? If we don't know anything about the characters, if we don't know the impact his mum dying actually had on him in this universe. Also, alongside that, with the film being based around time travel and literally changing the entire world, kind of makes the whole thing inconsequential. Any kind of character development that happens to anybody but the Flash will just be wiped out at the end. Now for the final bit, my wishful thinking. A couple of hours before I started recording, a rumour started going around that Michael Keaton will be returning to the role of Batman for this movie, which got me thinking about the potential of a multiverse in the cinematic universe. Now, if you want to get technical, there's already a multiverse in that film established thanks to the Arrowverse, which had crossed over with the cinematic universe for about 8 seconds. You can watch a video I made about that over there somewhere, link below at the very least. They could play out Flashpoint fairly differently, ending in sort of a collapse between worlds, where we could potentially see other versions of Batman sort of meet up, come together. But they do meet Michael Keaton's Batman, they'll actually tie it even further into canon with the Arrowverse, because that version of Batman was also seen in the Arrowverse. But then the whole multiverse was destroyed in the Arrowverse, meaning technically the DC Cinematic Universe should not exist. But then we do know that other worlds do exist, and established at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earth. That means the Flash Cinematic Universe will never get from the Arrowverse, because the Arrowverse is the main universe, and I don't think the Speed Force. The Speed Force was used by the Flash Cinematic Universe, and established from Crisis on Infinite Earth. Confusing. In Crisis on Infinite Earth, the Flash from Arrowverse and the Flash from the DC Cinematic Universe do meet. It's mentioned by the Cinematic Flash that the Speed Force is a potential thing, and he discussed this idea with Cyborg. And Cyborg is meant to also be in the Flash movie, being that he is President of the United States. Maybe you wonder, maybe the Cinematic Flash we saw in Arrowverse is actually a Flash coming out of Flashpoint, or maybe even going into Flashpoint, and crosses over in that travelling. So what if Flashpoint actually helped the Cinematic Universe survive Infinite Crisis? They would actually allow the two universes to coexist despite the collapse of the multiverse. It's strange how one Easter egg can make so much theory fodder. Lastly, I will leave you with this. I cannot wait to watch The Flash on the big screen. I absolutely love the Flash TV series, and I love the comic books more. Barry Allen, Wally West and Jay Garrick are 3 of my favourite characters in DC Comics. But tell me what you think. Do you think the Flashpoint movie is a good idea for introducing the Flash solo? Or do you think they should go with a different story and save Flashpoint for much further down the line? And also tell me, what DC movies are you actually looking forward to? Which characters do you want to see on the big screen? Or the little screen if that's your preference? And until I see you again, thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, take care of yourself, and bye for now.